Imagine being handed a cheat sheet for life, not from a guru, not from a book, but from someone who already lived the mistakes, paid the price, and learned the hard way. This isn't theory, this is hindsight. If you're in your 20 seconds, this could save you years. If you're in your 30 seconds or 40 seconds, this could change how you play the rest of the game. Because here's the truth, no one tells you early enough. Most people don't fail because they're lazy or untalented. They fail because they're playing by the wrong rules. At 46, you see patterns you were blind to at 26. You realize which decisions mattered, which distractions stole momentum, and which safe choices quietly limited your future. You stop wishing you worked harder and start wishing you worked smarter, earlier, and with more courage. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share 7 cheat codes I wish someone had drilled into me in my 20 seconds. Not motivation, not cliches, real principles that compound over time, the kind that don't look powerful today, but completely change your life 5, 10, 15 years from now. And if you stay until the end, the final cheat code might be the most uncomfortable one, because it's the one almost everyone avoids, and the one that separates people who stay stuck from people who break free. So don't multitask, don't T-scroll, lean in, because this isn't about where you are right now, it's about who you become next. Time is the only asset you start losing the moment you're born, yet it's the one people respect the least in their 20 seconds. Money can be earned back, opportunities can reappear, relationships can be rebuilt, but wasted time is permanently gone. Most people think the cost of wasting time is just the hour itself, but that's surface level thinking. The real cost is the version of you that could have existed if that hour had been invested differently. 1 hour spent learning a high-income skill, building a network, improving health, or creating something scalable doesn't just pay once, it compounds. When time is spent on distractions, comfort, or low-leverage activities, you don't just lose that hour. You lose the future returns that hour could have generated over years or even decades. In your 20 seconds, time has a multiplier attached to it. Effort made early has more runway to grow, evolve, and stack results. Reading one book at 22 can shape decisions for the next 20 years. Starting a skill at 25 can make you elite by 35. Delaying action until you feel ready quietly destroys this multiplier. People underestimate how brutally fast time accelerates once responsibilities pile up. Careers, family, bills, health, all of it compresses your flexibility. What feels like abundance of time now becomes scarcity later, which is why treating time casually early on is one of the most expensive mistakes. Spending time like it's unlimited usually looks harmless. Scrolling, overthinking, chasing quick dopamine, staying busy without direction. It feels productive because it fills the day, but motion without intention is still stagnation. High performers audit their time the same way investors audit finances. They ask where it's going, what it's producing, and whether it aligns with long-term outcomes. They don't aim to be busy, they aim to be effective. This mindset shift changes how decisions are made daily, because every yes automatically becomes a no to something else. When you understand time as a non-renewable currency, priorities sharpen. You stop negotiating with distractions and start designing days around outcomes. You become less emotional about comfort and more strategic about growth. This awareness doesn't make life smaller, it makes it more intentional. People who win long-term aren't necessarily smarter or more talented, they just learned early that time isn't meant to be spent, it's meant to be invested. Skills are the only form of wealth that increase in value the more pressure you put on them. And in your 20s, this truth is easy to overlook because money feels like the ultimate scoreboard. The problem is that money without skill has no gravity. It comes and goes depending on circumstances, luck, or temporary effort. Skills, on the other hand, create repeatable results. When you invest early in learning how to sell, communicate, build systems, solve hard problems, or leverage technology, you're not just improving your income for today, you're upgrading your earning engine for decades. The reason skills compound faster than money is because every new opportunity multiplies the value of what you already know. One strong skill makes learning the next one easier. Someone who understands persuasion learns marketing faster. Someone who understands systems learns leadership faster. This stacking effect is invisible in the beginning, which is why most people quit too early. They don't see immediate payoff, so they chase quicker rewards like overtime pay, side hustles with no leverage, or lifestyle upgrades that drain future optionality. Meanwhile, the person quietly building skills is increasing their capacity, not just their paycheck. Money is linear, skills are exponential. You can save an extra $1,000 this year, but it doesn't fundamentally change who you are or what you're capable of next year. Develop a valuable skill, and it permanently alters your ceiling. Even if you lose everything financially, skills can't be taken away. They travel with you across jobs, industries, and economic cycles. That's why people with strong skills recover faster from setbacks and adapt quicker when markets change. They don't panic because they trust their ability to create value again. Another mistake people make in their 20s is separating learning from earning. They treat skill building as something you do after work if there's time left. The reality is that the highest performers blend the two. They intentionally choose roles, projects, and problems that stretch their abilities, even if it means slower income in the short term. They understand that a year spent becoming dangerous at something pays back for the next 10. When you prioritize skill acquisition early, lifestyle pressure loses its grip. You don't need external validation because you're internally confident in your trajectory. The focus shifts from looking successful to becoming valuable, and that shift quietly puts you ahead of people who are chasing money without building the foundation to sustain it. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, and that's exactly why they stay inconsistent. Motivation is emotional, temporary, and reactive. It depends on mood, sleep, weather, confidence, and external validation. Discipline works differently. Discipline is designed in advance when emotions are calm, so that progress continues even when enthusiasm disappears. High performers don't rely on willpower because willpower is fragile. They build systems that make the right actions automatic and the wrong actions inconvenient. Discipline becomes powerful when it stops being about intensity and starts being about repeatability. Doing something once with extreme effort feels impressive, but doing something daily with moderate effort changes identity. This is why routines outperform bursts of motivation. When behaviors are scheduled, tracked, and standardized, they no longer require debate. There's no internal negotiation every morning about whether to show up. The decision has already been made. Over time, this removes friction, conserves mental energy, and increases output without increasing stress. A system-driven approach also protects you from inconsistency during low points. Everyone has days when confidence dips, results stall, or life gets heavy. Motivation disappears first during these moments, which is why people fall off track. Systems don't care how you feel. If the calendar says it's time to train, learn, write, or build, the system carries you forward. This creates momentum during periods when others pause, and that quiet consistency compounds into visible advantages over months and years. Another overlooked benefit of discipline is trust. When you repeatedly keep promises to yourself, even small ones, self-trust grows. That trust becomes confidence. Not the loud kind, but the calm kind rooted in evidence. You start to believe in your ability to follow through, which makes setting bigger goals feel safer. People who rely on motivation constantly reset because don't trust themselves to sustain effort. People who rely on systems don't need hype because progress is baked into the structure of their days. Discipline as a system also creates freedom. When priorities are clear and routines are established, decision fatigue disappears. You're no longer reacting to the day, you're directing it. This reduces stress and increases focus because attention isn't scattered across endless choices. Over time, disciplined systems shape identity. You don't just do disciplined actions, you become a disciplined person. And once behavior aligns with identity, consistency stops being a struggle and starts being who you are. Most people underestimate how deeply their environment influences their behavior, beliefs, and sense of what's possible. You can have clear goals and strong intentions, but if the people around you normalize comfort, excuses, and mediocrity, those standards quietly become yours. Humans are wired for social alignment. We subconsciously adapt to the expectations, habits, and ambitions of the group we spend the most time with. Over time, this influence is stronger than motivation or talent because it operates in the background, shaping decisions without asking for permission. Your financial ceiling, work ethic, and tolerance for risk are often reflections of the conversations you hear daily. If your circle treats growth as optional and ambition as unrealistic, pushing beyond that level creates friction. You start feeling guilty for wanting more or out of place for thinking bigger. That emotional resistance is enough to pull most people back into alignment with the group. It's not that they lack potential, it's that they're in V. Ironment punishes deviation from the norm. Staying in those rooms slowly trains you to shrink your expectations. High growth environments work in the opposite direction. When you're surrounded by people who execute at a higher level, your internal standards rise automatically. You don't need constant motivation because excellence becomes normal. In those rooms, discipline isn't extreme, it's expected. Progress isn't celebrated loudly, it's assumed. This creates healthy pressure that accelerates growth. You work harder not out of fear, but out of alignment with a new baseline of what's acceptable. Changing environments doesn't always mean cutting people off, but it does require intentional exposure. It means choosing rooms where your current level feels average and your excuses feel weak. That discomfort is a signal of growth, not inadequacy. When you hear better questions being asked, higher level problems being solved, and long-term thinking being prioritized, your own thinking expands. You start seeing options you couldn't see before because they weren't represented in your previous environment. Over time, environment reshapes identity. The habits you adopt, the risks you tolerate, and the standards you enforce become reflections of the people you model. This is why proximity beats advice. You can read books and watch content all day, but consistent exposure to high standards rewires behavior faster than information ever will. When you upgrade your environment, you're not just changing who you're around, you're changing the version of yourself that feels normal to be. And that shift quietly raises your ceiling without requiring constant self-control. Most people try to solve productivity problems by managing their calendar, but time management fails when energy is depleted. You can have free hours and still accomplish nothing if your mental and physical capacity is low. Energy is the force that converts time into results. Without it, even the best plans collapse into procrastination and distraction. This is why two people with the same 24 hours can produce wildly different outcomes. One has energy aligned with priorities, the other is constantly fighting fatigue. Energy is not just about sleep, though sleep is foundational. It's the combined result of physical health, emotional stability, mental clarity, and focus. Poor nutrition, lack of movement, constant stress, and digital overload quietly drain energy throughout the day. When energy drops, standards drop with it. People choose easier tasks, avoid challenges, and seek short-term comfort. Over time, this creates a cycle where low energy leads to low output, which then reinforces frustration and burnout. High performers treat energy like a strategic resource. They design their days around when they're most focused, not just when they're available. Deep work is protected during high energy windows, while shallow tasks are pushed to lower energy periods. They build recovery into their routine intentionally, understanding that rest is not a reward for work, it's a requirement for performance. This approach allows them to sustain intensity without burning out because output is paced, not forced. Another overlooked aspect of energy management is attention. Constant notifications, multitasking, and context switching fracture focus and drain mental energy faster than physical effort. Even if you're sitting still, your brain is exhausted from being pulled in multiple directions. Protecting attention through boundaries, reduced inputs, and focused work sessions restores energy more effectively than working longer hours. Clarity returns when the noise is removed. When energy becomes the priority, productivity becomes a byproduct. You stop measuring success by how busy you are and start measuring it by how effectively you show up. This shift creates consistency because you're no longer pushing through exhaustion, you're operating within your capacity. Over time, managing energy builds resilience. You can handle pressure without breaking, adapt without shutting down, and maintain momentum across long stretches. People who master energy don't just work harder, they work with themselves instead of against themselves. Playing safe feels responsible, especially in your 20s, because it comes with approval. Stable jobs, predictable paths, and modest goals are rewarded socially, even when they quietly limit growth. The danger isn't in taking calculated risks, it's in avoiding them entirely. When you choose comfort over challenge for too long, you trade potential for predictability, and that trade compounds in the wrong direction. What looks like security early often becomes constraint later. Betting on yourself doesn't mean being reckless or impulsive. It means trusting your ability to learn, adapt, and recover. Early in life, the downside of risk is smaller than it will ever be. You have fewer obligations, more time to rebuild, and more flexibility to pivot. Avoiding risk during this window doesn't preserve safety. It wastes an advantage. The people who move head fastest aren't fearless. They're willing to act before certainty appears. Playing safe also trains dependency. You begin relying on institutions, titles, and external structures to define your value. When those structures change, confidence collapses. Betting on yourself shifts the source of security inward. You stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility for outcomes. This builds a different kind of confidence, one rooted in capability rather than circumstance. Even when things don't work out, the skills and self-trust gained make you stronger, not smaller. Another cost of playing safe is regret. Failure teaches lessons, but inaction leaves questions that never get answered. Most long-term regret doesn't come from things that went wrong, it comes from paths not taken. When years pass, the fear that once held you back feels irrational compared to the weight of missed opportunity. Taking ownership early, even imperfectly, reduces this regret because you know you gave yourself a chance. Risk, when chosen intentionally, accelerates growth. It forces clarity, focus, and rapid learning. You pay attention differently when the outcome matters to you personally. Comfort dulls that edge. Growth lives where responsibility is high and excuses are limited. Betting on yourself places you in that environment by default. Over time, these bets stack. One decision leads to another, each expanding your capacity and tolerance for uncertainty. The safest long-term strategy isn't avoiding risk. It's becoming the kind of person who can handle it, because that ability compounds into freedom, resilience, and upward momentum. As you reach the end of this, remember this: none of these cheat codes are complicated, but they are uncomfortable, and that's why they work. Time, skills, discipline, environment, energy, and risk. These aren't motivational ideas, they're multipliers. Applied early and consistently, they quietly reshape your future. Ignored, they silently cap your potential. The difference between where you are and where you want to be isn't luck or talent. It's the rules you choose to live by every day. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to start playing the game with awareness, intention, and ownership. Small decisions made consistently create outcomes that feel extraordinary later. If this message did one thing, let it be this: don't wait for permission, don't wait to feel ready, and don't waste the advantage you have right now. The best time to apply these lessons was years ago. The second best time is today. Thank you for giving me your time and attention. I truly hope this message challenged you, encouraged you, and reminded you of what you're capable of. Whatever season of life you're in, I wish you clarity in your decisions, discipline in your actions, and courage in your choices. Good luck on your journey. Stay focused, stay hungry, and keep moving forward.